So welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming along to my first Culturehood series. And I've only actually told you just now that you're my first person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited about talking to you, learning about your journey, which I kind of already know because we've worked together.
We have.
And for us to do a deeper dive into all things people and culture. But I think first of all, it'd be really good for you to set the scene in terms of your journey, who you are, your business, and then we can go straight into asking more questions about people and culture.
Well, firstly, thank you for me being the test person.
No, it's all right.
No, it's great to be here. So yeah, we've obviously worked together, so you know, for everyone who's kind of watching, the agency I run is called 11. We are a brand and web agency. We specialise in Shopify, and we're a small team, but a powerful team of 4 full-timers, and then we have a bunch of freelancers around us supporting us. And a little bit more about us, we've been going for, it'll be our 4th year now this year, as we enter the new year, so it's quite exciting.
What is it they say? Is it like after 2 years? Let's say if you meet your 2-year mark, you're more likely to then succeed thereon.
Yeah, I think there's this tipping point of like 2 to 3 years where the biggest fails happen, businesses don't carry on, and then years on, I guess it's learning everything that you've done in those few years to get you there. So yeah, into the 4th year, which is quite exciting. Cool. Feeling really excited about this year, actually. I don't know why, maybe it's like an even number year, or just like the freshness of like having a new year and a new challenge. And putting the struggles, I guess, most people experienced from last year in the strange economy we had to one side and looking forward to everything.
So tell me a little bit more about, because we actually went to uni together, didn't we?
We did,
so we were on the same course.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Just give us a little bit more insight into what made you start up your own business. What was the catalyst?
It was I've been asked this quite a lot, and there's no one answer. And I guess it comes from a few places. The experience I've had through my years of working in businesses pre-agency. So my background has always been a mixture. Well, let's actually go back to university. We did graphic design. So it was graphic design, and then from there it was always a mixture of digital and experiential. So I worked in-house for e-commerce brands and at agencies, activating big brands, global brands to small brands. And it was always a mixture that really excited me in kind of the day-to-day that I like doing. Fast forward in my kind of career from graduation through to 2019, I left Simba Sleep mattress brand, and I thought it was a great time to freelance and just experiment with some other things. Pandemic comes, and that was a force of nature that no one saw coming and changed my plans basically.
And outlook on life, I think, for some people.
Yeah, everything. And it turned into go from freelancer to find some sort of revenue to supply, support the income. And that actually quickly turned into, oh, I've got the skills and I've got the ability to build a team around me to essentially build an agency. And it just grew from there, really. And so the pandemic was quite handy in terms of working with clients who are in the D2C space, because lots of people were turning online. We could support them. And that's really how I wouldn't say fell into it, but I took the experiences and kind of built something from there.
Yeah. So tell me, from a company culture perspective and from an employee engagement perspective, what are your thoughts on that, and how would you define company culture? I know it might be a difficult question, but what would be your response to that?
I'm maybe a little bit, I wouldn't say old school, and when I say old school, I like the physical interaction, so like being in a space together. Office, we have a co-working space, and we use that as a team. Every other week we all come together, but it's there to be used as much as anyone wants. And everyone's got different needs for how they want to work. So we're remote, and we make it work really well. But days when we're in the office, I love it. I really do. It just to be able to have a, how is your evening kind of chat? What do you want to get for lunch? Those little things foster much more like interaction. And you may be on lunch and you end up talking about the work you're doing, and you might just have that spark to like figure out that challenge for the client, which probably wouldn't have come from like a forced video call going, right, we're going to have a 1:30 chat about this, and these are the bullet points we've got to cover off. So I'm a big fan of that.
So tell me how you structure it then, because there is, it is an ever-changing environment, and hybrid working is very much a hot topic. Having spent a lot of my time in creative industries, it is I see how that face-to-face interaction, ideation, building a sticky culture, the bonds, the relationship, it's really important within creative. Tell me how you balance that, because you mentioned that you're remote and you also have the office. How do you have a structured way of doing it, or is it quite flexible in terms of how you come together?
I don't think there's any right or wrong way so far that we've experienced, and I've tried lots of different things. And we're still experimenting. At the moment, as I mentioned, we do this every other week meetup. We've done many different offices as well. We've tried lots of different places to just find the right mix. I think we're always going to keep evolving. The plan is to grow the team. So current full-timers are 4 people. And we'd love to expand mainly from a point of view of supporting our clients. With that expansion, though, our current setup probably won't work for us, because our co-working space is you go to the top floor, find yourself a space. There's no dedicated spaces. So let's say we're a team of 10. That's going to be quite hard to get like team of 10 together in the right spot. Then you've got the background noise of other people. So maybe it's moving to more of a private workspace. So it's going to be just taking it step by step and seeing how it works, but also how it works for everyone's needs. We've got staff would complete different ages
with different needs, I guess.
Different needs. And so if they need to be, they can work from wherever they want. So quite often someone might be at their parents working, or in their flat, or at home. And so I'm quite open to that flexibility.
So are there any kind of strategies that you use, or anything that you have in place that brings you together creatively? What do you use in terms of tools, or is there anything that...
Tool-wise, I mean, there's loads of us digital tools we use. So instant communication, Slack, we use ClickUp for project management, Google Workspace for emails. We're on the Shopify platforms, we're in that a lot. There's probably a ton more that we use, like here, there, and everywhere. Loom, we do a lot of Loom to kind of cut down on meeting time, which I'm getting more into, because I think it's really beneficial to then have that documentation of, let's say we spoke about something for the client and we need to refer to it in a meeting, it's kind of gone. So we just log that video online and then we can come back. So that's been really helpful. And you mentioned that you've got four employees at the moment of different ages. And by the way, what I really like you mentioned earlier was that you listen to your employees and what their needs are. I think as you've got a growing business, keeping your finger on the pulse and listening to the wants and needs to a certain extent, obviously, because you're trying to run a business, is a key part of that whole positive, healthy company culture. So tell me a little bit more about, if you've got your 4 people right now and you're looking to grow the business for this year, what key elements have you used in the past to attract people to join your business? What sets you, well, there's 2 questions here. What do you do? So if we can sort of look at some tangible things in terms of how you attract talent and have you recruited, but also what within creative, it is so unbelievably competitive. How and what is it that stands out for someone to work for 11? Why would one come and work for 11? So beyond benefits of the business, and I think we've got quite good competitive benefits. So have most other agencies.
I know.
So that kind of levels the playing field. Budget's an issue as well. We're a smaller business growing, so we don't have massive budgets. And I guess our positioning is probably what sets us apart from others. So I mentioned at the beginning, we're a branding and web agency, predominantly working in the world of D2C, so direct to consumer. There are a lot of brands that sell online. We want to be working with those brands who have a bit more of an emphasis towards people and planet. So conscious commerce, as we're kind of terming it. So ultimately, those brands that we work with are doing something positive for people and planet, and so the staff who come in also fall into that space and have a kind of one eye on how we can do better. I think that probably comes from myself having kids and they're growing up and just seeing kind of what we've built as a society for the younger generations coming through. There are great parts, but there's some parts that can improve for sure. And so I feel like I have a small need to make action in that space, and so that then feeds into the positioning of the business, which then hopefully brings in the right people who are on the same wavelength.
Their values.
Exactly. And then on top of that, our other positioning is around design. So we are a design and development, but we have a lot of attention paid to in terms of creating good design. So I do again think that's part of more of a mental well-being for the work that the team are doing, but then also for the clients and how they're communicating to their customers. So it's one bigger kind of picture.
Yeah.
And so those potential new staff who kind of align hopefully will feel more at home in that space than rather being maybe in a bigger business where they're just kind of like siloed and have a very particular job to do. Because I guess that's the last part in our kind of matrix of why they should come over is they have an opportunity to really be involved in all aspects of the business because of our current size. And then from there, I'd say they can have some focus and need, but they have an opportunity to learn and find their path first, which we're doing with the staff at the moment. We're asking them, you know, what you've enjoyed, what have you disliked, you know, where improvement can be done. This all came from the work we did together in terms of the results, the KPIs and results sections. And that's been really helpful to just kind of like get under the skin a little bit more. And ultimately that for the business is helping us because we're being more efficient. People are happier. And going back to that trust bit, we obviously as an agency, we do a lot of billings by hour and by project. And I say to the team, it's not about how many hours you're in the seat doing the work. If you get it done in 5 minutes versus 5 hours, fantastic. That's you're good at your job, and you can spend that time, ideally, you know, looking forward at new tech out there, or just something creative that is inspiring that will be beneficial to us internally as an agency, but also clients. So there's always something kind of a bit motivational in terms of not doing work for the speed, but just doing it well because there's opportunity to do and grow in other spaces.
So I think there's a couple of things there. You're managing on output, not necessarily input. So you're essentially saying if you are delivering to the quality and meeting client expectations, fabulous. But also you've got the room. We trust you to look at elements to improve yourselves, your own personal development, but also that's going to motivate you. And just also that the people and planet piece. I wrote a piece recently that was in and around hot topics for 2024 and what's going to be attracting talent to join a business. And a key part of that is the focus on my values, doing good within purpose over profits. And certainly that piece in terms of giving back to the local community. Yes, I'm doing my job, but I want to give back. And you are barking right up that tree because you're positioning yourselves as a business that not only does that for your clients, but you embody that as a business. That long-term positive impact is really key.
We're certainly trying to do that. And at the same time, I'm also very wary about greenwashing as a business because that can happen quite easily. And I'm very conscious that that's not why we're having this position. It's literally from a point of, I feel like we need to do something because you can't just expect someone else to do it for you. And so, as I said, when I'm in this position, we can. And it's for us, it's making small incremental change rather than one big impactful piece, because I think that's
So give me an example of what you would do.
A really good example actually was yesterday on a phone call with a client. We are talking about content that's going on the website, and there was a lot of talk around video. And video, you're just adding stuff to the internet. Every time anyone puts anything on there, we're just increasing the energy the internet uses. I think the internet is the 6th largest polluter if it was a country on the globe.
Really?
As a whole, so it's big. So there are lots of ways that you can be more efficient in using your online presence. And so in this conversation, there was a lot of like video here, video here, video here. And we're like, maybe it could be done some other way because video is consuming as an energy source. We've got some ways where you can do 2D animation, which basically pumps it out as a piece of code. And that's really, really lightweight and small, and you can still get it across the same communication. So that was like an extra added value in that conversation. And from us as a team, we can do that animation and we can storyboard it and everyone's happy. And that was really kind of a bit of a light bulb moment in that conversation yesterday, but that's kind of ingrained into our practices anyway. And I guess outside of that, particular conversation generally, let's say in any store that we're building, are there apps out there? We have some great partners actually. Are there some apps out there that can facilitate some positivity again to people and planet?
Cool.
We work with a partner called Turn Eco, which is a trading platform on Shopify, which allows, let's say you're a retailer, you sell anything that can have a trade-in value, you can send it back to that retailer. That customer can get rewards or money back and cash back. And we find that most of the clients we work with just don't know about this or are a bit unsure about how to build this. And so again, that's just part of our everyday communication in terms of how we can help in that space, rather than we've turned on a store for you. Hopefully you can go out and turn over a load of cash, but that's not the end of the story for us.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great message for you to be saying internally with people who join your business as well.
Yeah.
So tell me more, you also run talks, don't you?
Yes.
So tell me a bit more about those talks.
So we started these last year. It's under the title D2C for People and Planet. Cool. And it is simply us bringing in our clients or just brands who are doing something great in the space. So a conversation like we're having right now, I'm hosting with 2 to 3 clients on the stage, and we're asking, what are they doing? I.e., they might be a B Corp and how they went about that and what that means to them and what that means to their customers, or for smaller businesses who aren't B Corps, what are they doing in the absence of big budgets to get there or the resource to get there? And there's some really interesting stuff that comes out from it.
And do you think B Corp is something that you would look at doing?
I'd love to. Yeah. I think it's
Tell me
not
about
necessary.
Tell me what you think about B Corp, whether or not.
I think B Corp is doing a great thing. I do think bigger businesses are jumping on it, not to greenwash their positioning of being better in that space, but it is seen as kind of a badge to tick. And I think there are some businesses, Vita Coco, a client of ours, who are utilising it well because they're working really closely with B Corp to activate stuff for their suppliers in different parts of the country. And then I do feel it's a tick exercise, and I don't want to be part of that. I want to do it when we're ready to do it as well. And it is a commitment. Authentic. It's not something you just get once and you've got the badge forever. Every year you've got to go through the process. So we want to get there. First, we've just got to make sure that we've got a team in place to be able to be part of a B Corp structure. Without that, there's no point because
From experience, it's not all that easy to. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. It is something that you have to really commit yourself to, and I think there's also that element. If you're going to go down the road of gaining a B Corp certification, you need to be careful that it doesn't, as you said, be seen as lip service, greenwashing, especially to employees, because that's when you lose a bit of trust, because they'll go, well, hang on, we're not leading by example here. What we've said we're doing, we're not actually doing.
I think leading by example is really key, particularly as a smaller business. The simple things of who's going to be speaking in a meeting or who's going to take charge of that particular question. I feel maybe I'm a little bit harsh sometimes. I'm like, I'll show you once and I hope you can pick it up after. But I'll happily do it. And I feel if I can't do it, I shouldn't expect anyone else to be able to do it in my absence, unless they've got the right skill sets and they're hired for a particular purpose, like developers. I can't code and I'm not going to try. That's a skill set. But I would expect someone to be able to communicate with the client clearly and just as long as they've had that experience once doing it, then they can do it. And I feel that comes from leading, particularly from example.
So, on that theme of leadership, if I divert into talking about leadership, so what do you think makes a successful leader?
Ooh, that's a big question.
It's a really big question. I'm really sorry, and I didn't even prime you with that one either, did I? But what do you think? All right, I'll phrase it if that's too much. What do you think has been successful for you as a leader and has worked?
The leading by example has been good. I'm happy to answer that. What makes a good leader? Because again, probably swimming out of this by saying there's not one right answer, but I don't think there is. I think it's what's right for the people that you have around you and your team. So let's say someone really needs attention, and in our line of work, they need the creative sessions, the critique sessions to kind of go through and make sure that this is correct and it's hitting objectives for the client and so on. Maybe somebody needs that, and so I will give the time to do that. Recently, I've been doing more of a structured time to do that, where before it was ad hoc. As we grow, you need a bit more structure.
100%.
Whereas before I was like, I'm always available,
Yeah.
come to me anytime. And then I'm like, I don't have time to do my thing.
It's got to be much more
So a bit of
proactive.
structure has helped, and then that opportunity to be approachable. But then others are the opposite. You can just trust them to get on with their job. Don't micromanage. And I've definitely micromanaged in the past. And I think people say they haven't, probably are lying a little bit, because you don't know you're doing it until you've done it once.
And I wonder also, we talked about right at the beginning of this, listening. And I think that micromanagement piece, if you've got your blinkers on and you're not listening, gaining feedback from your direct reports, your employees, your team is really key, because that's going to help you grow as an individual, because you're opening yourself up to uncover those blind spots. So you didn't know you were probably micromanaging at the time until maybe it came about that someone maybe fed back to you, or you look back and think, Jesus, I did a bit of that, and that was wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also 360 feedback as well. So having the review sessions with the team, it's not just asking, saying what's good and what's bad. Like, tell me how I can make it better for you. Because if I don't know, I'm going to tell you the same old stuff again and again, or just ask you to do the same things. And that might be just something that, inside a staff member go, oh, I'm not enjoying this, and then that might lead them to exit. So if you don't ask these questions and give them that safe space to like put
psychological
it forward,
safety.
you're just not going to have that team, because the team is, without a team, you're really doing nothing.
Exactly. So tell me a bit more about your performance. I want to say performance enablement, but what does your a review, setting really clear expectations, what does that look like for you internally? And I'm trying really hard not to say the word appraisal, because I hate the word appraisal, because it's not an appraisal. I call it performance enablement, because you are providing that person with clear expectations and feedback, etc. So tell me a little bit more about what you do in your business.
Yeah, so obviously after we worked together, we've got a lot better structure in place, because it was me just messing around and not knowing what I'm doing. Now there is structure, and it is for any job role in the business, there's a clear kind of journey to go forward.
Brilliant.
If that person wants to, because not everybody, you've got to remember, it's not everybody actually wants to like become top dog here.
And that's fine, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we have a clear journey and a path, but also importantly, the kind of key metrics that need to be hit to get to the next stages. There are salaries in place with bandings in place. Brilliant. So that, again, just offers clarity. And so you don't have any kind of confusion, and if anything needs to be spoken about that, this is documented, so it's there to go back and look at.
And it also helps with your credibility, because you're being really clear as to what the expectations are. You're being transparent. You're seen as also being fair. You talked about salary bands, and it might seem really small, but actually lots of those little things that all come together create quite a big piece. So things such as salary banding, being really clear on what the competencies are for each level, and what each level salary bands there are, just takes the edge off for an employee thinking, okay, I get it. I know where I'm headed. Exactly. You can set some really clear goals, so it helps with communication internally.
Yeah, massively.
Tell me a little bit more then. I want to dive into, again, we talked about you're growing your team. What do you think has been successful for you in terms of recruitment? What do you do when you go out and hire? Because you are competing against, the whole war for talent is huge. What do you do specifically to get the right people in your business?
A few things. We've got, I'm sure you've told me this and other people told me, it's like have a black book, and just, you meet people. You may always be hiring is kind of what I've been told. Like have conversations with people. You may not be talking about bringing in the next hire, design hire, develop hire, what it might be for us, but speak to these people as and when you come across them, get to know them, even if it's for a 20-minute chat, and log that, so you've got someone to go back to when that time comes. Because searching is a big task. It's a job in itself sometimes. Platforms we use a variety. LinkedIn has probably been one of the better pieces for us. Our latest hire came from LinkedIn. Actually, it was just using the free LinkedIn post.
I was going to say, did you pay for it? Because it's really, it can be quite expensive.
I have done in the past,
for smaller businesses.
Yes. We have paid a daily fee for it to be promoted. I mean, with LinkedIn, you get an insane amount of applicants, and if you go down that route, you just got to be prepared to go through all of them. And that's where we found our PM right now. And she's fantastic, and that came through the LinkedIn free ad, and then it was just following up through a few messages, and then went through the
That's
process.
awesome. So no recruitment fee.
No recruitment fee on that one, but we have paid fees in the past.
Yeah.
We've done, so LinkedIn, we've done It's Nice That jobs board, we've done some local jobs boards, we've done creative jobs, design, like any relevant design job board basically for designers.
So is there anything you've done where you've had your fingers burnt when it comes to recruitment?
Not in agency life as I know it now, but in previous work life, yes, I've made bad hires.
And why do you think that bad hire came about though? Because it's not necessarily that as an individual, it's probably
rushing
from experience.
Definitely rushing. Just going, I'm under-resourced, things are busy, I need to, it is probably a bit selfish, I need to like make my life a bit easier, and if I can do that by getting someone else to do this, get a load of applicants in, I'm like, oh, they seem to fit the bill and they're available now, they're at the right price, let's get them in. And then you're like, wow, now I'm just doing more work to bring them up to speed, or actually their skill set's not there. So rushing is the enemy. Yeah.
I talk to a lot of businesses who are scaling, small to medium-sized businesses who are looking to bring people into their business, and I have to be really clear and say, what is it that you're looking for now? Yes, but really look at what are your business aims moving forward. What does that structure look like, and what skills are you going to need now, but also in future, so that you've got that workforce plan? Because you're hiring for now, yes, but if you don't bear that in mind, they'll quickly outgrow, or you'll set unclear expectations, and that's when it starts to crumble, because maybe that person's not quite fit for the role 6-12 months down the line. But also when you've got your plan, you're then, and actually I can ask you, but you're quite clear then in terms of, well, what skills do I need? And then you assess against those skills. So have you used anything? How do you go about planning for interviews or anything like that? Is it just you that interviews? Do you get maybe the team to
because being a small team, it is me through front to back of the process. However, when we have got down to a narrower kind of group of people, I will then bring in the team to kind of make sure there's a cultural fit. They like them, because ultimately we're going to be spending more time together than we are with our family, friends, loved ones, and so on. So they'll come in. On the point of looking to the future, that's always a really tricky one to understand what you need. And we're in a position where we're doing that now, which is a good thing. And it's thinking at how do we do this? Is it we start with some sort of blended part-time going to full-time? Is it freelance then going to full-time? There's lots of options now. And with our work, as much as we want to say, there's a project, it's going to take 3 to 6 months and it's quite linear, there's always something that changes in the middle. Let's say, I don't know, the client goes dark for a little bit for whatever reason. So then the freelance option may not work, because suddenly you've got someone sitting there twiddling their thumbs on a day rate. So then you're going, okay, maybe we should have brought that in-house as a permanent hire, and so they can do more work internally. But then that's quite a risk at the beginning if the budgets don't allow for it. So it's really tricky, and that's why I think having that black book to call upon is good. Because our last hire was a PM, and we had a interim PM before our full PM, and that worked really well, because that allowed me to understand what that role really required, and how that when that final person came in, they had a better idea of what they needed to do, where their time was split, what to focus on. So that was freelance to part-time.
What do you think really fosters, I hate that word fosters, but fosters a healthy company culture? We've talked about quite a bit, but what else do you think? Do you think there's anything else as part of what we've discussed already? Is there anything extra you think, do you know what, that is what I really think really helps us foster a really engaged team and a healthy company culture? Yeah,
I draw on past experiences from when I've worked in companies which had a great culture. There was an events agency I worked at, and I loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm still friends with people there now.
I see that. Does a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have fond memories of the work we did. It was in the event space, so we were fortunate, and we were at the time quite young, so we went off to festivals and we were away a lot, and that was cool. But there was just this camaraderie of everyone being mates, and then there was a shared like for the cultural experience. In that case, it was like music and experiential stuff.
There's a lot.
So I want to bring that over somehow.
Which you're doing with the planet and
yes,
purpose,
that's one
you?
part of it for sure.
You've got that core
Yeah.
set of aligned values where you believe in that together.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to be said for that social element. And sometimes I think that when things are really busy, that perhaps sometimes falls off.
It does. It's one of the first things to drop off. And I mean, our summer party was more like Christmas party this year.
Oh, really? Hold on. At least you got it in.
And then we did a Christmas thing quite soon after. So it is easy to drop it away. I want to do more of that. And I think what I'd love to get to is where it's not driven by me. And I think if we've got a culture where, I don't know, staff parties or just get-togethers, whatever you want to call them, are taking place and driven by the team rather than me. Because I feel like if I'm doing it, it's more forceful. You have to come to this thing. You don't have to. Just trying to see if you want to.
It needs to be organic.
Yeah. So I want to kind of get that organic flow going. And I think that will come with bigger team though. Because I look back at those previous jobs and they were in teams of 10, 12 plus, where there is a mixture of people that can band together to do those things. I think when you're a smaller team, every month we go out for lunch as a team. That's nice just to kind of like sit down, eat good food. We always go for Vietnamese.
And you learn about people as well, don't you? And that's all about, the more you learn about that particular individual, then you're going to understand the motivations.
Exactly.
And therefore it's easier to manage them further down the line. So,
and we're all starting to get, our team currently get drawn together. We're all on the South Coast. We all were London based. We're all now South Coast, which is, I love it because we can easily get together.
Brilliant. Okay.
But who knows what the future will hold? I'm happy if, there are teams. We do have freelancers who are South American. So that's like video call stuff. But, there are still like these connections, a bit about their personal life and, that still works. But
so I don't think we've ever touched upon this actually, but what are your thoughts on company values?
I think they're important. I do.
Is that something that you've ever tried to create yourself?
Not yet. Not yet. I think that has to come, I think, as we grow. Because like you say, why would someone come to work at 11 versus a competitor agency who are doing the similar things? And it is these tipping points. And that's actually the same in the kind of like conscious commerce area with our clients. For example, let's say they sell the same things, but if they're doing something a little bit better for the people on the planet, customers typically go there, and that's the same for us as a business, I think.
It's that edge, isn't it? It's that if I've got two offers on the table, what's going to stand out more to me? Who do I resonate more with? Defining those company values is really key, but also it helps you keep your company culture alive at the forefront, really clear, because you're being clear on what those behaviours are. But I also think, to add to that, it's about, you've already kind of talked about some values and behaviours that you've got.
You probably just don't have it on paper.
But it's uncovering those and making sure your employees are involved in that process as well. I think is really key from experience. If you create them and then go, oh, there you go, team, that's our values, they go, what? Well, where have these even come from? They're not us.
They've got to be involved.
Definitely. So I've got two more questions, and what I would like to find out is, what piece of advice would you, based on your experience, what piece of advice would you offer to fellow agency business owners in terms of retaining talent and growing a team, company culture, all that level? What would be your piece of your nugget of advice that you would give?
Nugget of advice would be, I'd say understand what works for you firstly. Don't try and shoehorn your team, as you may have them now, or a team you have in the future, into something that doesn't work. And what I mean by that is, let's say you are fully remote, you only like being remote, you don't want to be going for people who want that office culture, because you're not going to be motivated to be part of that, and so you're always going to have that divide, and that works the other way around. So you've got to find that. You don't have to have everyone liking the same things as you, because I think you get a bit of an echo chamber and you don't really learn. So do not be scared by bringing people who are better than you. People who like different things.
Well, that's
you
why
don't
you bring
have
diverse
to.
thinking, isn't it? It's what you need within creative. You need that different perspective
exactly.
and different way of thinking.
And I think age range is important as well. We've got an age range that spans top to bottom, and that's really helpful from experience, but also finger on the pulse type stuff, and everything in between. So
cool.
I'd say don't hire in your image is probably key.
Cool, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, and as a sum up, what is next for 11?
What is next? That is a big question too.
It is a big question.
Hopefully lots of things.
Yeah.
Growth, not growth for the sake of being massive.
Yeah.
We don't want to be big, and I think I can say that on behalf of the team, that we don't want to be like a 40, 50 person agency. And I know a lot of agency owners might go, once you get to 10, you want to get to 20 and so on. Honestly, we want to be a sustainable business in terms of the staff there. Like everyone's happy, they're clear on what they're doing, they're not pressured or stressed out because we've got too much work. So I want to get a balance, because I think that will also be beneficial to myself as well, and everyone around us. So growth for sure, and probably a clearer repositioning of us. We've been tweaking ourselves as an agency for a while.
Well, it always happens. I mean,
yes, I mean, as a designer from a background, I'm always trying to like change the website. Last night I had some bonkers ideas about some things we could do, and I was like, let's just part this and just focus on what's at hand at the moment. But there will be just some further evolution and tweaking, I feel, over this year, to probably give us the next stage of growth for working with bigger businesses. We love the clients we work with now, and actually they're all different shapes and sizes, but we do want to have more longer term, bigger projects. Cool. So that's our focus.
Yeah. And so then in that, what do you think is going to be your focus from a talent perspective? Not necessarily just hiring, but what do you think is going to help you just move that needle so that you remain to be seen as an employer of choice?
Employer of choice, I think it will probably be through our case studies and through the clients we work with, because then that will hopefully enthuse, motivate the next hire to go, they've got that client, or they're doing that for these clients. I want to be part of that, because we could have the biggest name clients out there, but maybe the work you do is pretty boring, and that quite often comes with the bigger businesses. You get siloed into just artwork, this, pump out that. So we'll have a nice, like I say, this sustainable size that comes with client, it comes with staff, it comes with workloads. It's just that healthier, hopefully healthier growth.
Cool. Yeah. Interesting. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been so nice talking to you, and some really insightful stuff from when you first set up 11, and just, you know, your advice in terms of what you've been through has been really helpful. So thank you so much for sharing.
I love being here. Thank you. No, it's been really nice.
Thank you.
Really nice to talk about this. So
cool.
Thanks.
Thanks.